Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is to take these really complex stories, dense research, sometimes extraordinary feats, and just distill them down into knowledge you can actually use. And today, we are diving deep into a project that, well, it almost defies modern construction logic, doesn't it?
It really does. The scale is something else.
Yeah, imagine this. One person working pretty much alone in a remote mountain spot, starting with basically nothing, just bare earth. And then, in only 210 days, they complete a fully functional, totally self-sufficient villa and a farm.
Right. It's not just, putting up four walls.
Exactly. It's a whole integrated off-grid ecosystem. Now, the sources documenting this, they're often called the wild narratives, al riwaya al bariya. They give us this incredible, almost high-definition look at how it happened. And the stakes, well, you can imagine they were enormous. This wasn't about just reading blueprints quickly. It was like inventing an entire infrastructure from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our deep dive today really zeroes in on one question. How on earth was this level of complexity, this resilience, and this deep sense of tradition achieved in just 7 months and entirely by hand?
Well, it's that timeline, the 210 days that immediately kind of grabs you, right? It challenges how we normally think about building.
Work.
When people hear 210 days, they might picture, I don't know, a simple cabin maybe, or assembling a kit home.
Yeah, something much smaller.
Exactly. But the scope here is just exponentially bigger. The source material lays out the complete construction of two major, fully integrated things. First, there's this sophisticated main house, which is specifically called out as the traditional Vietnamese general house, the manzil al fam al Vietnamese al.
That specific style.
And second, not just a house, but a robust, fully operational small farm system alongside it.
Okay, let's just pause on that. So 210 days for a complete off-grid, self-sufficient homestead built entirely by hand. Well, it's astonishing.
Yeah.
It implies that the planning, the sourcing of materials, digging foundations, the actual structural build, putting in utilities, and getting agriculture going all had to happen, like, simultaneously, seamlessly.
Pretty much, yeah. That's exactly it. And the core nugget of knowledge we can really pull from that timeline is this. Complexity doesn't automatically mean years and years of work if the method is rooted in the right kind of efficiency.
And that efficiency here wasn't machines.
No, not industrial machinery. It was traditional knowledge combined with, you have to assume, incredibly meticulous pre-planning. The sources show this process where speed and resilience are somehow married. Because, think about it, in an off-grid setting like that, there's just no room for error.
None at all. One mistake could set you back weeks or worse. All right, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the philosophy behind this build. Because I think the choice of architecture, that specific house style, it tells us a lot about the intention here. It wasn't just any traditional house. It was the traditional Vietnamese general house. What does that specific architectural identity bring, to the table for sustainability in the mountains?
Oh, that choice is absolutely crucial. It's far more than just like aesthetic nostalgia or wanting something that looks old.
Okay.
The traditional Vietnamese general house embodies centuries of accumulated knowledge that's been tested by time, It embraces what the sources call the Altikiak Almafusa Bayawak techniques preserved by time.
Techniques preserved by time, I like that.
Yeah, and these are principles engineered specifically for the climate and geography of Southeast Asia. That often means dealing with intense heat, heavy monsoon rains, sometimes even seismic activity.
So a direct application to a tough environment.
Exactly. For an off-grid mountain location, this architecture offers built-in advantages. Think about the raised floor design, which is pretty common in this style.
Right, you see that a lot.
It promotes natural airflow underneath, keeping things cooler, and it stops moisture from wicking up into the timber structure. That's critical for the building's lifespan, its durability.
Makes sense. Keeps the wood drier.
And it also helps manage water flow during really heavy rain, which, is a constant worry in mountain areas. Plus, the use of traditional joinery, heavy timber framing, often locally sourced wood, it inherently creates a structure that's both flexible and strong. It can weather storms that might just shatter a more brittle modern building.
Wow. Okay, so the tradition itself becomes like a structural survival mechanism. By picking this specific heritage design, the builder was essentially tapping into generations of architectural R&D.
That's a great way to put it.
Ensuring the home was immediately optimized for its environment without needing, complex energy-guzzling modern stuff like air conditioning or fancy waterproofing chemicals.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that connects directly to the core goal, being fully self-sufficient, muktifitatnya.
Right.
If your main structure is already durable and responds well to the climate, your dependence on external systems, external repairs, the power grid, it just drops dramatically.
So sustainability here isn't just about using less, it's about cutting the cord entirely.
Eliminating dependency, yes, that's the heart of it.
And the sources describe this whole thing as this harmonious mix. Architecture, sustainability, and really high-level craftsmanship, or feel. That word harmony suggests a deep collaboration with the land itself.
It absolutely requires what the sources term a deep understanding of the land, a famalamicular.
Okay.
For a project like this, especially in the mountains, you can't just treat the land like a flat, empty lot waiting for concrete. You have to read the contours, understand the little microclimates on the site, track where water naturally pools and flows after rain.
So observation is key.
Crucial. This understanding dictates everything. Where exactly the house sits, how the roof is angled for the best water catchment, what local materials to use, maybe stone from right there for the foundation, specific types of wood from nearby trees for the frame.
So if the builder needed big foundation stone.
Yeah, and let's say they knew there was good granite, just, 50 meters down the slope. Their building method becomes about accessing and processing that local material right there. This integration, it shifts the whole building process. It's not an imposition on the land. It becomes more like a symbiotic relationship. The house grows out of the local environment. And think about the benefits. It dramatically cuts logistical costs and the whole carbon footprint of transporting materials from far away.
Right. No trucks hauling concrete mix up a mountain track for weeks.
Exactly. The materials are already there.
That idea of seamless integration brings us right to the method itself, the sheer audacity, maybe, of the fact that this entire project was built completely by hand, from scratch, min alif laser. I struggle to really picture the physical reality of that. Moving heavy materials, digging foundations, raising those massive timbers for the Vietnamese house frame, all without any industrial equipment.
It points to a dedication that's, it's way beyond just construction. When you build by hand, you're forced into a totally different relationship with the materials, with the physics of the structure itself.
How so?
Well, it's slower, obviously. It's painstaking work, but it allows for this continuous micro-level quality control. Like, imagine mixing mortar or concrete by hand versus a machine.
Okay.
You feel the moisture content, you feel the size of the aggregate, the consistency, in a way that someone just operating levers on a mixer never will. You're intimately connected to the material quality.
But still, the physical scale, a large villa, plus other buildings, a farm. That sounds like moving tons, maybe hundreds of tons of earth and stone by hand. It feels like a complete rejection of modern efficiency. But what's the payoff? Why choose this incredibly hard manual approach when that 210-day clock is ticking?
Yeah, it's a fair question. What's gained is, I think, absolute control, resilience, and intentionality. Industrial speed often relies on cheap, standardized parts, maybe compromises in getting things to fit perfectly.
Is that good enough sometimes?
Exactly. By building manually, the builder infused every single element, every joint, every wall with this deep sense of purpose. And that seems to be the guiding principle of the project, that every element is guided by intention, wakulu uner yastashed bilnaya.
Okay, intention. How does that translate into, actual building decisions?
You see intention translate into real physical durability. Take the foundation work in a mountain setting, for example. Conventional building might just pour a big concrete slab, maybe with some basic footing.
Standard practice.
But intentional hand-built construction, knowing about heavy rainfall patterns in the mountains, would likely involve something much more detailed. Maybe carefully laid deep rubble trenches for drainage, perhaps dry stacked stone footings below ground level. Things specifically designed to handle hydrostatic pressure and make sure water drains away from the structure effectively.
Okay. So the manual effort isn't just work. It's an investment in making it last longer because you're tailoring it precisely.
Exactly. It's an investment in longevity.
So intentionality is basically the design philosophy made real through physical labor. It ensures, as the source says, that form meets function with grace, yotake ashakla wal wafama alnima. A really holistic way of looking at it.
Precisely. I mean, if your intention is to build something that lasts for, say, 5 generations, you're going to choose different materials, different ways of joining timbers. You'll spend more time on those hidden subsurface details compared to if you just intended it to last 20 years before needing major work.
Right.
The manual process in that sense becomes maybe the only way to fully realize that deep intention, ensuring every beam is truly sound, every tile is set just right, and every single piece serves a specific necessary purpose within that whole self-sufficient ecosystem.
Let's loop back then to that 210-day timeline. But thinking about this intense manual labor, it still implies an efficiency and execution level that must have been almost military grade in its planning. How does that idea of working in rhythm with nature and traditions, tamal prakama aleabiawal takali, actually help the builder keep up this incredible pace without burning out or cutting corners on quality?
The rhythm. I think that's the absolute key to maintaining speed without the kind of stress that leads to mistakes. It means having this deep seasonal awareness, knowing the weather patterns intimately, and being hyper-efficient about staging materials.
Okay, like what?
For example, the builder probably wouldn't try to mix huge batches of concrete during the peak of the monsoon rains. That's just fighting nature.
Right, it would wash away or wouldn't cure properly.
Exactly. So instead, they'd likely use that rainy period for meticulous indoor tasks. Cutting complex joinery for the timber frame, preparing plumbing runs, maybe processing materials they'd collected earlier when it was dry. The rhythm dictates that the heavy timber framing happens when the weather is dry and predictable. Foundation curing happens when the temperatures are ideal.
So it's about aligning the tasks with the conditions, not just pushing through regardless.
Yes, and that relies incredibly heavily on pre-planning. We have to assume that the 210 days we hear about is just the active construction phase. The real secret to that speed probably lies in the fact that all the materials were likely assessed, maybe logged and staged before day one even started.
Okay. The prep work was immense.
Had to be. When you're using local materials, this means knowing exactly which trees are ready for harvest and suitable, where the best clay deposit is for bricks or plaster, how to process all these things efficiently right there on site. The builder essentially becomes this highly skilled project manager who understands the mountain environment's limitations and opportunities implicitly. That allows the project to move forward relentlessly, but crucially, never frantically.
Relentlessly, but not frantically. That's a good distinction.
Yeah, it's purposeful, paced work.
Okay, now let's move from the main house philosophy to the actual functional bits, because this is where it gets, I think, really interesting. This project wasn't just that beautiful, traditional Vietnamese general house. It was like an entire village complex, wasn't it?
It really was a whole system.
And you could apparently see the care in every detail. Mushahadat, called altafal al-shakal abi.
The craftsmanship shines through.
So let's break down these essential support structures. The sources specifically mention a fully functional outdoor kitchen. Now, why, when you're building what sounds like a pretty high-quality villa, would a separate outdoor kitchen be essential in this kind of traditional, self-sufficient context?
Right, it might seem counterintuitive if you're thinking purely modern house. But the outdoor kitchen serves multiple really critical functions, especially in a warm climate and a traditional homestead setup.
Okay, like what?
Well, culturally, it's often the real heart of the home for daily cooking, food prep, maybe even socializing while you work. Practically speaking, it's a brilliant heat management system. Cooking fires, especially wood fires, generate a lot of heat.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping that heat outside the main house keeps the interior living spaces cool and comfortable, drastically minimizing any need for artificial cooling systems.
Smart. Passive cooling by location.
Exactly. And furthermore, in an off-grid situation, managing fire, smoke, and fuel is just crucial for safety and efficiency. An outdoor kitchen is likely built with really durable, non-flammable material stone, tile providing a safe, contained place for burning wood or maybe charcoal, which could even be a byproduct of managing the farm or the surrounding forest.
So it integrates the cooking needs with managing the land's resources, too.
Precisely. It closes another loop.
Okay, and this leads us directly to the system that, for me, transforms this from just a traditional dwelling into something genuinely modern and self-sufficient.
Yeah.
The tiled bathroom system, complete with full plumbing and a robust sewage system. Putting that in a remote, hand-built mountain setting in 210 days, that seems like maybe the biggest engineering feat of the whole project.
It is. It's the defining complexity, I'd agree. The fact that it's a tiled bathroom immediately tells you something.
Yeah. What does it signal?
It signals an adherence to really high standards of hygiene and durability. Tiling is painstaking, detailed work, especially getting it right by hand. but it ensures waterproof integrity, which is absolutely non-negotiable if you want the structure to last. Water damage is the enemy. But the real sophistication, as you said, lies in the plumbing and the sewage treatment.
Right. How do you even do that off-grid on a mountain?
Well, think about the mountain context again. Running traditional gravity-fed plumbing systems requires really precise grading and trenching, all on uneven, sloping terrain. It's tricky. And the builder couldn't just connect to a municipal sewer line, obviously.
No, of course not.
So they must have designed and implemented a localized, probably quite advanced, waste management system. Given that self-sufficient mandate, muktafi datean, it's highly probable this involves some kind of multi-stage system. Maybe, an anaerobic digester for the black water.
What would that do?
That could convert the toilet waste into methane gas, potentially a source of cooking fuel, another closed loop, and a stabilized sludge that could be used as fertilizer after proper treatment. And then, perhaps, combined with a dedicated system for recycling the gray water.
Okay, so gray water, that's water from the shower, sinks, maybe the outdoor kitchen sink.
Exactly. Less contaminated water.
And that would be filtered somehow and then diverted straight to irrigation for the gardens.
That's the most logical and sustainable approach, yes. The source material really speaks to the thoughtfulness of this integration. Managing water on a mountain slope is tough. You need storage for dry times and really effective drainage for the wet season. The sewage system here isn't just about getting rid of waste, it's about resource recovery.
Resource recovery, okay.
And preventing any pollution running off down the slope. Designing that whole system, the holding tanks or cisterns, the filtration trenches or beds, the distribution lines, and building it all by hand within 7 months, it just shows a level of applied environmental engineering knowledge that is truly remarkable.
Yeah, it really does.
This is exactly what we mean when we say sustainability doesn't have to mean primitive. It means intelligent, integrated design.
That focus on resource recovery carries right over into the other big component, the farming ecosystem. The sources mention not just a chicken coop, guarajaj, and garden spaces, but specifically thriving garden spaces. Now, getting a garden to thrive in just 210 days, especially starting maybe with poor mountain soil, that's a science in itself.
It is. It's the ultimate proof, perhaps, of the builder's deep understanding of the land, al fam a la Miquelard. Starting a garden from scratch and having it actually thrive that quickly means the initial soil preparation work had to be done immediately and incredibly effectively.
So not just turning over the dirt.
Oh, no, definitely not. We're likely looking at techniques designed for rapid soil building, intensive composting maybe, or perhaps methods like hugelkultur.
Hugelkultur? What's that?
It's where you bury decaying wood and other organic matter under the soil in raised beds. Over time, the wood breaks down, holds moisture like a sponge, and releases nutrients, creating these really fertile, often self-watering garden beds, ideal for getting things going quickly.
Interesting, okay.
And the chicken coop, the kwa'adaja, isn't just a standalone thing either. It's an integrated part of the nutrient cycle.
Oh, so?
Well, the chickens provide eggs, maybe meat, yes, but their manure, their waste, is incredibly rich in nitrogen. It's like rocket fuel for compost and for building soil fertility quickly. The whole homestead seems designed to operate on this closed-loop nutrient cycle. Kitchen scraps might feed the chickens' waste enriches the soil grows food for the builder.
And the fact that gardens were thriving in that 210-day window.
It confirms that this ecological balance was achieved almost instantly through, well, what must have been flawless execution of the plans.
That breakdown really helps. It turns just reading garden into seeing this complex system of soil science, nutrient cycling, animal husbandry. It's intricate. But how are all these separate parts, the main house, the outdoor kitchen, the sophisticated bathroom sewage system, the chicken coop, the thriving gardens, how are they all physically tied together, made into one cohesive unit?
Ah, the physical connections. That's arguably the clearest visual sign of the builder's comprehensive vision. The sources specifically describe how all the different structures are linked together. By hand-poured concrete tile paths, Masarad al-Bala al-Harsania al-Makut al-Bilyad.
Hand-poured concrete tiles per pass.
Yes. And these aren't just minor decorative details. Pouring and laying potentially hundreds, maybe thousands of individual tiles by hand to create these paths is incredibly labor-intensive.
I bet.
But they are essential infrastructure. They reflect that clear and cohesive vision. The source mentions Aruya Wachia wa Mutamasika. These paths ensure you have safe, clean access between the living areas, the cooking areas, the sanitation facilities, and the farming areas all year round, regardless of mud, heavy rain, or difficult terrain.
Right, you wouldn't want to be wading through mud to get to the chickens or the garden every day.
Exactly. They are like the arteries of the system. They allow the whole thing to operate efficiently and durably. They guarantee the builder can move materials, collect produce from the garden, manage waste streams smoothly, day in and day out. The paths are really the functional glue holding the entire living system together as a single operational complex.
Functional glue, I like that image.
That fits, doesn't it?
Okay, this brings us towards our synthesis then. When we sort of pull back and look at this project in its entirety, it's clearly defined as much more than just construction. It's called a nidation, a living system, and even a NIMB, an ecosystem.
Yes, that's the ultimate classification, and I think it's accurate. What makes this whole setup resilient, marinin, and deeply rooted Muchadaran is precisely that interdependence of all its parts.
How so?
Well, think about potential failures. If the external power grid fails, it doesn't matter because the project isn't connected to it.
Right, no grid dependence.
If the municipal water supply gets cut off, if there even was one nearby, it doesn't matter because the rainwater catchment system and maybe gray water recycling are operational. Resilience is fundamentally built into the design through this kind of redundancy and tight integration.
So failure points are minimized.
Exactly. We've talked about how the traditional architecture handles the climate passively, the farming system handles the food supply, the sophisticated plumbing and waste system handles water and sanitation internally. It's designed as a closed-loop system where the failure of some external service is largely irrelevant because the internal systems are self-supporting. That really is the definition of true long-term resilience. And importantly, it's achieved not through high-tech gadgets, but through foundational knowledge and smart design.
And wrapping it all up, the sources describe the resulting home, the whole place, as not only beautiful and resilient, but also deeply human, insani and amikan. That's such a powerful, almost emotional description for a building project.
It is, isn't it? And I think it speaks to the authenticity of the labor involved. A house built with such clear intention, built by hand, built in rhythm with the land, it inevitably becomes an expression of the builder's own commitment and values. It carries the weight of all that effort, that skill, that personality. It tells a story just by existing. When the builder walks across those paths they poured themselves, or rests in the shade under the roof they raised, they are inhabiting a space that is a direct, tangible reflection of what they value: sustainability, durability, self-reliance, hard work.
You know, it provides an incredibly powerful lesson for us, for you, the listener, about our own relationship with the spaces we live in. We tend to delegate construction, we outsource maintenance, and often maybe we lose that sense of connection, that deep responsibility for our immediate environment.
That connection gets severed, yeah.
This project really serves as a compelling counterargument. It suggests that perhaps the ultimate value in a dwelling, the thing that makes it deeply human, comes directly from the effort and the intention poured into its creation by the inhabitant.
It absolutely challenges that modern industrial assumption that complexity must be delegated to specialists and machines. Here, the individual skill, vision, and labor were clearly the most powerful tools.
Okay, let's try and consolidate the essential knowledge nuggets then. The core takeaways for you, the listener, from this really remarkable deep dive into the 210-day ecosystem build.
All right. First, I'd say is the feasibility. We've seen compelling evidence that highly complex, genuinely self-sufficient construction, even integrating modern necessities like proper sewage and plumbing, is actually achievable in a compressed time frame like 210 days, provided there is unparalleled planning beforehand, rooted in traditional, time-tested knowledge.
Okay, feasibility under specific conditions. Got it. Second,
the synergy of old and new. This project masterfully combines deep architectural tradition, that specific Vietnamese general house design, with essential modern utilities needed for comfort and hygiene. It shows that sustainability here means maximizing well-being without sacrificing independence. It's not about roughing it.
Right. It's smart integration, not just primitive living. And third,
I think, is the triumph of intentionality and craftsmanship over sheer industrial speed. The manual labor wasn't a drawback, it was the vehicle for realizing the builder's clear purpose. It resulted in this incredibly cohesive, durable, and resilient ecosystem where every single element, from the heavy timber frame down to the thriving compost heap, serves a functional, necessary, indispensable role.
Every piece matters.
Every piece matters.
This deep dive, it really gives us an incredible map for intentional living, doesn't it? It proves that sometimes the most advanced solutions are actually the simplest ones, just guided by a really clear purpose. We've gone from that big picture, the almost unbelievable timeline, right down to the nitty-gritty engineering of something like the gray water recycling system.
It truly is a phenomenal achievement documented in these sources. And as we leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over, I want you to maybe consider the hidden cost of convenience in our own lives. If creating an entire resilient ecosystem, a comfortable home, traditionally beautiful, fully functioning homestead, is actually possible by hand, guided by clear intention in less than a year, then what compromises are we routinely accepting in conventional industrial building processes?
That's a challenging question.
It is. We tend to prioritize speed, standardization, mass production. But perhaps this project's most important lesson for us today is that investing time, consciously embracing tradition where it makes sense, and applying personal labor and skill, maybe those are the true long-term strategies for creating dwellings that genuinely protect us, sustain us, and feel, as the source said, deeply human.